Okay, folks, we are going to go ahead and get started with our third panel of the day. Got the peanut gallery up front. I love this. I love this. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much. So this is our third panel. We're going to be talking about arts organizations as community programs. Okay, I'm going to get things off. We'll pass it over to Carmen, and then we'll follow up with Liz to talk to us about some of the Arizona-based stuff, including Mars. But I'm going to start us somewhere totally different. So if we were to survey the history of Chicano arts organizations in the United States, we would find that they did a hell of a lot more than merely create art and create spaces for artists to make and display their artwork. In many cases, Chicano arts organizations provided vital social services for their communities. I want to talk about some of the community services performed by one of the most dynamic arts organizations to come out of the 1970s Chicano arts movement. The Royal Chicano Air Force. There we go. We played a big part in how Chicano art really developed here in Arizona, so I want to spend some time grounding us here with RCAF. So Royal Chicano Air Force, or RCAF, was an art collective based in Sacramento. It was founded in 1970. In terms of the group's artistic output, they were fiercely multidisciplinary. In addition to muralism and printmaking, RCAF's work included poetry, music, theater, dance, performance art, photography, and filmmaking. The group's name, Royal Chicano Air Force, was a tongue-in-cheek reference to their Chicano militancy. In fact, Royal Chicano Air Force created a whole mythology for their group in which they told people that they flew airplanes made out of adobe. Yeah. Sometimes they dressed as fighter pilots for events, or they drive around Sacramento in a tricked out military-style Jeep. But while these were funny satirical gestures, there was an underlying reality, which was that several members of RCAF were military veterans of the Korean and Vietnam Wars, experiences which led them to become anti-war activists, which, as we've mentioned several times today, really was a major part of the Chicano arts movement in general in the 1960s and 70s. In addition to being one of the most significant groups in Chicano art history, RCAF was also notable for their community organizing, their political and labor activism, their work with Sacramento officials to give Chicanos affordable housing. Hell, RCAF even ran a community auto repair co-op so that Chicanos could help each other with their car troubles, Holmes. In short, they did a lot more than just create art. RCAF is perhaps most remembered for their direct contributions to the United Farm Workers Union and the movement led by Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta. In fact, RCAF originally came together as an art collective in support of the work Cesar and Dolores were doing. So RCAF and the Chicano movement in general were absolutely aligned. Because Sacramento was California's state capital, it was the site for a lot of protests and rallies by Cesar, Dolores, and the farm workers. As a Sacramento-based group, RCAF made and distributed flyers announcing those protests and those rallies. They also made all the banners, the signs, the flags, the t-shirts that were used in the actual demonstrations. RCAF also coordinated food and housing for the farm workers and other Chicanos who traveled to Sacramento for the rallies. And this was a tall order because these demonstrations at the state capitol back in the 70s really were mass mobilizations of people. Members of Royal Chicano Air Force also served as the official security for Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta when they traveled to the Sacramento area. No doubt because RCAF members had military training. But this was dangerous work. On at least one occasion, RCAF had to take out a man with a rifle at one of Cesar's speaking events. We have to remember that political assassination at that time was rampant, right? We had Malcolm, we had Martin, we had Fred Hampton, Bobby Kennedy, our own Ruben Salazar, taken out precisely because they were voices of justice. So serving as the security for Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta was, in the grand scheme of history, really vital work and a major component of RCAF's mission, which was to be of service to the broader Chicano movement. One of the most incredible services that RCAF provided for their Sacramento community, though, was instituting a free breakfast program known as Breakfast for Niños. RCAF understood that in order to serve the cultural needs of the community, they had to serve the basic needs of their community. And one of those basic needs was food security, the ability to put food on a family table. So RCAF fanned out to different community centers in Sacramento's Chicano barrios and started feeding kids for free before they went to school. Breakfast for Niños survived thanks to community partnerships, donations from grocery stores, markets, independent farmers, and community pantries. The breakfast program also functioned as an informal classroom where children could learn about the Chicano movement, learn about brown is beautiful, learn about si se puede, learn about the power of art and creativity. Breakfast for Niños was one of RCAF's most successful programs. It was actually modeled on the free breakfast program that was started by the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense, aka the Black Panthers. The Panthers pioneered the free breakfast program in the 60s after reading studies that showed that students' underperformance in school was predominantly linked to issues of hunger and food security, or insecurity, as the case may be when we're talking about Black and brown kids. In other words, if kids were hungry, they didn't do well in school. Studies showed that to improve academic performance, attendance, and classroom behaviors, it was important for kids to have breakfast before coming to school. But of course, not everybody could afford to put breakfast on the table. So the Panthers went about feeding the community because they wanted the next generation of Black kids to be intellectually empowered. And I would say the same was true for the Royal Chicano Air Force with their breakfast program. In fact, RCAF's Breakfast for Niños program was a collaboration with local Sacramento chapter of the Black Panther Party for Self-Defense. So this was a coordinated effort to feed Sacramento's Black and brown youth. The Breakfast for Niños program also sponsored things like Christmas toy drives and Christmas Day feasts for families in need, complete with an RCAF airplane piñata that, if hit just right, would spew out sweets for the niños on Navidad. In 1972, only 2 years after forming as a collective, RCAF members also established La Raza Bookstore. They repurposed an abandoned storefront and transformed it into functional cultural space. And as we just discussed in the previous panel, efforts at renovating and redeveloping spaces were treated with as much artistry, creativity, and craft as any work of art that these artists were working on. The bookstore was founded and operated by RCAF member and community organizer Teresita Romo. Terry was actually scheduled to be here today to give this presentation to you, but unfortunately she could not be here. She's with us in spirit though. She's back in Sacramento. And my guess is that she's probably tuning in on YouTube. So Terry, what's up? La Raza Bookstore gave the community access to books that often weren't carried in other bookstores of the local library. This included literature written by Chicano and Native American authors, books about Latino and Native American culture, books about pre-Hispanic history, books about the Chicano movement, Black Power movement, American Indian movement, and Third World liberation movements, as well as a variety of books in Spanish, which again were very difficult for many people in the community to get. La Raza Bookstore also coordinated with professors at local colleges so that the bookstore could carry all the textbooks and course materials that were required for ethnic studies courses back in the day. Professors would then encourage students to buy from La Raza instead of the campus bookstore. Terry Romo and her RCAF comrades did more than merely stock their store with books, though. La Raza Bookstore carried all things Chicano. So candles, crafts, incense, jewelry, statues, ojos de Dios, chucherías, and other cosas and bobaditas. Anything Chicano was carried in this store, basically. The bookstore also became a venue for displaying and selling artwork by RCAF members and artwork made by Chicano artists from across California and the Southwest. It's important to remember that in the 1970s, the art market for Chicano artwork really wasn't developed yet. So places like La Raza Bookstore became the unofficial clearinghouse for buying and selling Chicano art. When the dry cleaning business next door closed, RCAF took over that building and expanded to create a dedicated exhibition space as well. La Raza Bookstore also became a cultural hub for people to tune in to what was happening among Chicanos locally, statewide, and nationally. Again, this was a pre-internet era, so La Raza Bookstore was where people went to stay informed. It also served as laboratory for poets, playwrights, and spoken word artists to share their work with the community. It was a space for political organizing. It was also a space for rehabilitation. La Raza Bookstore hosted anti-drug programs so that their community could be and remain healthy and free of drugs. Again, all of this shit was being run by artists. RCAF was also responsible for reviving cultural traditions that hadn't really existed for Chicanos in the US, such as Dia de los Muertos. Although Day of the Dead is now one of the most recognizable Latino cultural traditions in the US, back in the day, the holiday wasn't something that Chicanos celebrated publicly as a community. If Dia de los Muertos was observed at all, it was observed in the privacy of the home. That changed in the 1970s, though, thanks to groups like Chicano Air Force and thanks to groups like Chicanindio also, which we'll talk about here in just a sec. In 1975, RCAF organized Sacramento's first community Dia de los Muertos celebration, which became an annual event. The artists and community gathered at a nearby high school and then performed a street procession to St. Mary's Catholic Cemetery. They played music, danced, sang praise songs, carried flowers, candles, crosses, and photographs of their ancestors and their dearly departed. When they arrived at the cemetery, a Catholic priest gave a traditional All Souls Day Mass in Spanish and English, which was followed by a ceremonial performance done by a local Aztec dance troupe. A large community ofrenda was constructed so that the community could add items to honor their ancestors. RCAF's Day of the Dead embodied the spirit of what we might think of as a traditional Dia de los Muertos that one might find in parts of Mexico. Insofar as it was ultra community centric, it took place in the community cemetery and it was grounded in the community's Catholic and indigenous spirituality. This coming November 2nd will actually mark the 50th anniversary of Royal Chicano Air Force's Dia de los Muertos celebration, making it the longest running Day of the Dead event in the entire United States. Word. Yeah, if you want to know more about it, travel to Sacramento this fall because Terry Romo is doing a major exhibition about their Dia de los Muertos. In summary, RCAF was way more than just a mere arts organization of artists who wanted to create visual artwork. Their programming, their initiatives, and their efforts were rooted in advancing the Chicano movement, feeding the bellies and the minds of the youth, honoring their ancestors, and uplifting and empowering their community. A legacy that they then handed off to myriad Chicano arts organizations, which we'll hear from right now. Thank you very much. So you got a little clicker here. This is forward, that's back.
And where, okay, there.
There you go.
So I just go forward.
That's forward, that's back. You got it?
Yes. Well, buenas tardes. Good afternoon, everybody. Buenas tardes. Yo soy Carmen Guerrero. I am the co-founder and executive director of the Culture Coalition. But in 1974, I went to Mexico on a vacation from my college. I graduated from Oberlin College in Ohio. And I met this wonderful artist who became my life partner, who's a Renaissance artist. He does sculpture, he does murals, he does masks, he does theater, music, and sing and dance. So we started Chicanino Artists in 1975, Chicanino Artists Coalition in 1975. And it was a concept about uniting Native Americans and Chicanos. We have more in common than we have differences. So we were the first Latino arts organizations incorporated in the state of Arizona. So that's how we started. And Zarko is the one who created this beautiful image of half Native American, half Chicano, like half Zapata, half Indian. That was how we started Chicanino. Chicanino really started because this is our Humanizarte also that Zarko wrote. This was the philosophical basis. We felt there was no really place to see Latino art. Zarko had lived in California. He was a resident at Stanford University and had painted a mural there that's still there at the Casa Zapata. And of course, he had befriended many people from the Royal Chicano Air Force. And we took a lot of inspiration about what to do here from them. So art, Humanizarte was our guiding principle for Chicanino when we started, talking about art as a unifying cultural tool for all our programmatic activities. So back there, Zarko was painting murals for the CETA program for the Arizona Commission for the Arts. And every time we finished a mural, there was a fiesta, of course. There was a celebration. So we had music, we had theater, we had all the artists, we had food, and our little duo, we started having a duo, the Chicanino musicians duo. Pretty soon we started adding more people, and then we changed name because we became kind of professional. We started playing in clubs, nightclubs, and we did events and conventions. So it was like, where's the profit and non-profit here? So Chicanino was the arts organization, the nonprofit, and Zoom 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 was part of it, but it was its own entity doing Latin music. We did a lot of programs in schools. We did a program called An Imaginary Trip to the Americas, where we talked about the different kinds of music in Latin music. Everybody just wants to say Latin music is one thing. Well, there's corrido, there's cumbia, there's salsa, there's reggaeton, there's samba. So anyway, our group was versed in all of this. And so we continue painting murals and doing music. And then we had children, so they grew up playing music with us. So for a while, Zoom, 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 we went to Los Guerreros. And our 3 children are here playing with us. We came up in a lot of newspapers and a lot of articles about us. We were activists in the sense of pushing the Chicano agenda, Chicanino agenda. And we did programs like the Imaginary Trip. We also did Rhythm, Rhyme, and Reason, because the kids were into rap and they wanted something that rhymes and has drums. We also did Jungle Jams, which was sort of like a drum circle in schools. So we provided a lot of services to the schools, and our family grew up playing music. Then in 1980, we started the first Dia de los Muertos Festival in Arizona, and this was at Pioneer Park in Mesa. So it started a very small, little celebration, and it grew to the point that in 1994, Dolores Huerta came and participated in our procession. So I'm here holding hands with my then 3-year-old daughter. She's now 33. So anyway, from there, the Dia de los Muertos started growing. We did it in Mesa for maybe 25 years. But our activism continued because we were interested in art, in music, not just in visual arts, but also in music, in storytelling, and dance, and theater. So that became sort of a primary form of income for us. We were entertainers. We went with our instruments everywhere, And the reason, and this came out in the New Times, and the reason why it says sayonara is because that's the year that Zarko won a fellowship to study mask making in Japan. So the group disbanded and we left. For a couple of years, we were in Asia. So this is also, when we came back, we found that Chicanindio had changed. You know, the Chicanindio that we started when we were gone had different leadership, different board members. They were doing primarily just visual arts and a lot of prints. That was actually, when we started, the print programming with Chicanindio was with the Royal Chicano Air Force. They came down in their Adobe planes. They flew down here to do workshops for us. So in 1996, we started another nonprofit dedicated to the performing arts because we wanted to do more theater, more music, more dance, and more storytelling. So that's where the Culture Coalition started. And our big, our logo is La Cultura Cura. We feel that culture heals. Our kids are so bombarded with information or misinformation. They're also lacking so much art in the school that we feel like we have to continue providing La Cultura Cura for all the kids to come up. So what does Culture Coalition do? Okay, we continued the Dia de los Muertos festivals in Mesa. We also were able to partner with the Heard Museum for 10 years, from 1990 to the year 2000. We had a huge 2-day Dia de los Muertos at the Heard Museum. So I don't know how many of you got to see that. We also partnered with Desert Botanical Garden. That was a long one, like 16 years, from 2004 to 2019, just before the pandemic. We did the 2-day event at the Dia de los Muertos at the Desert Botanical Garden. So we found strength in partnering with other established organizations. So we didn't just work by ourselves. And we don't have a space that is ours, but we do art and music and dance and festivals everywhere. Right now, we are doing Mikishli. Is gonna be this year downtown Phoenix. That's the other thing too. Mikishli is the name we changed from Dia de los Muertos to actually doing Mikishli, which means transcendence, not death. We're adapting that now term to go back to our roots, because everybody just thinks that Dia de los Muertos is the day that you dress up like a calaca and then you just dance around. They don't know the history. And then because it's right around Halloween, it gets mixed. Halloween is a Celtic tradition and talks about ghosts and, you know, things like that, scary stuff. Dia de los Muertos is actually when we connect with our ancestors, so we need to really make that distinct difference. So we call our festivals Mikishli. And you see here in the survey over here that over 90% of the people find the festival excellent. And they identify as being Hispanic and Latinos. But we're open to everybody. Our festivals are always free and open to all. We don't charge for our programs. I work really hard with my staff to write grants, to get sponsorships, to be able to pay the artists. All of them are paid. So in this big crowded over here, we see the Quetzalcoatl puppet done by Zarko rising up over the audience. And during our festivals, we've seen upwards to 15,000 people come. So it's really packed. So if you haven't been, come. It's gonna be November 1st this year. We're gonna not do it at the park. We're doing it at the Arizona Center because it's cheaper and more welcoming to us. And also it's gonna be in the evening. We're gonna do November 1st, Saturday, from 5 to 9. Okay, we're also gonna be at the Tempe Center for the Arts celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day from a Latin American perspective. We are partners of the, we are a resident company of the TCA, have been for the 2nd year now. We usually do 3 cultural programs over there. And then we do El Puente Fest, which is about children and crossing that beautiful pedestrian bridge that they have over the river. And then we do Indigena, which is October 12th on Sunday from 2 to 5. And we also do the holiday market over there. We partner with a Native American firm called OXDX, and we have over 100 Native American vendors in last Saturday of November. It's gonna be November 29th this year. So together we reach about 40,000 people. most of them family, low-income families, and children. Most of the kids don't have art experience until they come to our festival. That's what we found out in our surveys. At the Arizona Center right now, we're doing pop-ups. So I was very inspired by what the presenter before me was talking about it, because we were doing it without really thinking about it, without, it just kind of happened. We have this, Zarco has this amazing collection of masks and sculptures, and we didn't have a place to put it, so we're looking for a place. So we started in Mesa, which had 2 windows, very small. Then we went to the Arizona Center and got a bigger space, and then they gave us a space with 5,000 square feet. We had over 200 pieces of art. And here you see part of the Alebrije. It's an 8 feet tall sculpture done by Zarco. It is multifaceted, the front and the back. But anyway, that's when we had our opening, February 7th, beginning of this year, at the Arizona Center. So let me see what's next. Here, we also have, inspired by the Royal Chicano Air Force, we have an after-school arts program. We function every day, Monday through Friday, except for the summertime. We follow the school calendar. And we are inside a low-income housing project, downtown Mesa. So there's about 113 families living in this project. So the kids, after school, they go home, there's nobody there, but they come to our classroom. So we provide them with a free meal, and then we do their homework or help them do their homework because they must succeed in school. And then they have an art experience, which also includes cooking and gardening, because it's important for those kids to learn how to feed themselves and how to understand the farm to table. So we partner with Local First Arizona to do the cooking and gardening. We have a music teacher who's here today, Javier. Thank you for coming. So he works with our kids, teaching them guitar and ukulele. So we're serving these children because providing this free art experience is really at the core of what we are. We want people to embrace the arts because I really believe arts is healing. I believe the arts addresses our divinity. So I think that we're forgetting that because there's no art in the school, in elementary school anymore. So it's important. Over here, we also have an apprentice program in our organization. And we have about 5 different apprentices that come over because they want to do masks, they want to start the sculpture with the master artist, and then they ended up helping us at the festival because they're the ones inside the puppets. They're the ones performing. And they're also making money because every time we book them, we pay them. So it's kind of nice to make that connection between art and money, isn't it? Especially when you are young and you need to, and you are just a student, at college. Marshall, the one here in this bottom here, he just did a collection of 10 masks on his own for a play in Scottsdale that we're going to see tomorrow. So now he has enough confidence to just do his own masks. We partner with 3 different municipalities, 4 actually, because Chandler is coming up now. But in Mesa, we do a Mask Alive festival every year in March, and where we invite different cultures that utilize the masks, and there's many of them, like the Chinese, the Japanese, the Mexican, of course, the Filipino. They all use masks for part of their regalia, part of their, cultural expression. We partner with Tempe, like I said before, doing El Puente Fest, Indígena, and the holiday market. We also partner with the Sudavaki Museum. Used to be called Pueblo Grande Museum, is over here in Phoenix, 40th, and Washington. And we do a Portal Fest where we celebrate the heritage of water. The only reason why we can live in this big city of Phoenix, Arizona with water is because the Hohokam, thousands of years ago, started the canal system. So this canal system is still in use today and still provides a sustenance to all of us. So we work with them. And then also we do Indígena that recognizes the ingenuity of Latin American artists. So we're gonna have Peruvian dance, Guatemalan dance, and our own dances from our, and also we're gonna have a fashion show because as you see, I'm wearing a Mexican shirt. And people see me and I say, where you get this and why? So my girlfriend Diella and I started talking about why don't we do a fashion show and talk about different huipiles from different regions of Mexico. So we're gonna debut this right there at Indígena on Sunday the 12th. I'm talking fast because I have a lot of slides and I want to be able to talk about everything we're doing. Okay, this is a picture of Indígena, and we have Coatlicue, the Mexica dancers. They always come to our festivals and they bless the ground. They keep us in touch with our indigeneity and our spirituality. So that's really important. And lots of families come. We cater to the creative families. Those are families that even though they're low income, they know the value of the art. So they enroll their children in mariachi classes. They pay for the instruments, for the outfits. They also enroll their children with ballet folklorico. So, and they drive to the places, you know, they invest themselves in their children learning about their cultural arts. So we invest in them by providing opportunities for them to perform, and we pay the teachers so that they can continue teaching, and also invest in them. When they come to the Center for the Arts, they bring their aunts, their tias, their comadres, their vecinas, because it's free. And most of them have never been in a theater, have never been inside a Center for the Arts. So that's what we're trying to do. We're breaking barriers for all these families. Next, we have Miquixley, and here we have the Calacotes. They're dancers. They're like clowns around the festival. They make everybody laugh and dance around it. And our Miquixley is going to be November 1st at the Arizona Center, so please come and enjoy it. It's free and open to all. And we're going to have over 80 vendors there. A lot of people come, so there's going to be a big mercado. We try to curate our mercado so that everybody's doing artwork that's or selling anything that's related to the theme. So you can't just come over there and sell something that doesn't have anything to do with us. So come see it. It's beautiful. Lots of groups that we work with, lots of children mariachi, children dances group, and Indigenous Enterprise is gonna come and do the finale this year. Over here is about Portal to the Past Festival, which will be November 22nd at the Sudavaki Museum, celebrating the legacy of water. And we see the Kelly Akimel basket dances right here in front of Breeze's mural that was commissioned by the city, by the museum. And here is the holiday market, native holiday market, that will be Saturday 29th. Please come shop and help out those native artists that come all the way from Navajo Reservation, Hopi. They come all over from the state of Arizona, some of them from New Mexico even. And it's a beautiful, beautiful holiday market, and we are keeping our community engaged and sustainable. And here you see a glimpse of our community festival, which is El Puente. It will be next year in February. And what's amazing is we cross that bridge as a metaphor, because there's a beautiful bridge there over the water. So we call the bridge that's going to unite us to the different border or to the different world. So it's a metaphor for the next side. And again, we see the puppet, the flying serpents, Quetzalcoatl, flying around with the big calacas. You see the big puppets over here. They're 8 feet tall, Frida and La Flaca. And they have puppeteers under them. So they walk, they dance. Mask Alive will be Sunday, March 22nd at Pioneer Park. So music, dance, puppeteers, vendors, food, comida, and kids' activities. And it's over. I'm done. So anyway, I'm not alone anymore. I used to be the lone wolf and be the only one doing things behind the scenes. I have a staff now of 8 people. I have 4 teachers that are there every day taking care from 2 to 6 with the kids that come in. And also I have an assistant director, an events coordinator, and a social media person. So I thank for the generosity of all our friends that keep donating to us, and also the grants that we get and sponsors. So thank you very much, and que viva el arte!
So you can use this guy right here. So you just click this one.
That's forward,
Yeah.
okay.
Does that sound good?
Great,
Okay.
thank you.
Yep.
Hola, buenas tardes. I'm Liz Lerma. Also known as Ixtaxihuatl, also known as Ixta, and this is my man Popocatépetl, also known as Popo. We are revived Aztec legends as set up by Rob Buitron in a 3-year calendar project that showed us as Aztec legends as Chicanos, as Aztec legends in a variety of situations. It's wonderful work, and we just had to have Popo and Ixta at their own symposium. So here we are. So I was introducing myself in three languages. In English, Lerma. In Spanglish, Lerma. And in Spanish, Lerma. I'm thrilled to be part of this symposium, and I'm so grateful to the museum for doing this. You know, it's big work and a big step they've made for them and for us, and to the wonderful people that put this together. You know, I'm so grateful to you for your work. You were great to work with, Matthew and Christian. Thank you so much. Okay, let me get started here. I'm a founding artist member of Mars, and I also served as its executive director for 2 years. I also participated in the first annual Chicano Art Show, and my name was not on the poster either, and I wrote it in. And I was part of the founding of Mars in 1978, and you heard about that. And once I cooled off, I came back with a vengeance, and I was so honored to be part of it for all those years. Now let's talk about Mars. Mars is an acronym for Movimiento Artístico del Río Salado. You've already heard some of the things that I might say. I'm going to try and skip if I know someone said it. Mars was a professionally directed, nonprofit, artist-run gallery which served the metropolitan Phoenix area with programs showcasing visual, performance, and literary artists. Community exposure of Arizona and Mexican-American Chicano artists was emphasized with the objective, Mexican-American, Chicano, and Native. In the beginning, that was part of it, and it was always sort of, that's part of us too, so that was part of it. It was emphasized with the objective of fostering the development of artists' exhibitions of high artistic quality in an inner-city minority community. The first Mars Gallery, as you heard, was opened in a downtown Phoenix low-income neighborhood in 1981 at 1201 South First Avenue, and the gallery was renovated in '83. Professionally directed since 1984, Mars expanded its staff in '87 with the addition of an assistant director. We produced our first traveling exhibition with support from the Arizona Humanities Council in 1989. Took us a little while, but we did it. In its time, Mars had satellite galleries, as you saw, Norman's Fina Cocina. We were also at, well, I'll tell you that later. Oh, here it is. The Hispanic Research Center at Arizona State University and New Metropolis Architects, Inc. in Phoenix, and of course inside Norman's Fina Cocina. Here's how it all began. During the summer of 1978, the foundation for Mars was laid at the annual Floricanto Culture Week. A week later, some of the exhibiting artists met to discuss future plans, and at that time there were 9 artists who committed to a new organization. Robert Buitron, Ed Diaz, Manuel Acuña, Armando Hernandez, William Galindo, Jose Andres Giron, Francisco Zuniga, myself, and Jim Covarrubias, who organized that first exhibit. Robert C. Buitron wrote, "There was a consensus that an organization was needed in the Valley of the Sun because we felt that art created by Mexican-American Chicano artists was considered second-class folk art or art requested only for Cinco de Mayo events. Our perception stemmed from a disenfranchised social environment and the need for a gallery to present contemporary art forms which would serve an inner-city community. MAR's goal was twofold: to promote Arizona's cultural heritage by promoting Arizona and Mexican-American artists, and to provide cultural growth through a progressive gallery serving as a vital resource and networking center for community members and artists, and as a cultural center for Phoenix. MARS allowed Chicana artists, and I'm going to say Chicanoa just to have to stop saying both, but to refer to the male and female, artists to join the movement if they had an affinity to the culture. And that's how it started out, and that worked great. In 1983, Robert C. Buitron, MAR's director, wrote, Rob, by the way, was really the one that put MARS into writing in such a way that we could get grants, that people could understand. He's a great writer, and I call him Mr. Mars. I even made an award for him out of clay that says Mr. Mars. Where was I? He wrote, MARS programming is designed to further community relations, to bring some of the best Chicano Hispanic artists from various areas to Phoenix, and to enlighten all people of the diversity of the Chicano culture and the art created as a result of its experience. The programs provided opportunities for local and visiting artists to work together, discuss their artwork. Wait a minute, I can't look up. And expand the organization's artistic services and capabilities. These exchanges clear a pathway to other personal visions and aesthetic perceptions. By providing such programs, MARS established links with artists, individuals, and community. And some of those great links that happened between artists were with our Visiting Artists series, and the Local Artists series, and La Feniquera, where you had many different artists coming in, and we could see work and talk about it, and it really worked great. In its first 5 years, MARS presented 65 exhibitions and conducted over 30 workshops and demonstrations. In 1981, MARS was awarded a subcontract from the City of Phoenix to conduct a CETA Summer Youth Employment and Cultural Program, which employed MARS and other artists to conduct workshops at the MARS Gallery in beginning photography, painting, silkscreen, music, and dance. Oh, wait, I haven't been flipping this. Oh, there's one of my favorites, the Women of Mars exhibit. There we were, and you can see the diversity of the Women of Mars. You know, that's how Mars was. We were all over the place. There's La Feniquera, which was wonderful. I think Rob thought that one up. You know, to have that once a year annual juried show. This was something done by Ralph Cordova, Mars 82. And now I'm going on to the Visiting Artist series. Oh, I didn't finish this on the local. Mars artists showed at the Local Artist series at Mars Gallery and at Mars Satellite Galleries. One example of the Local Artist series exhibitions presented at Mars Art Space was called Redefining a Shrine, Mars Multicultural Polydisciplinary Group Exhibition. And that was February 4th to March 1st, 1991. And we advertised it as a broad range of ideas, issues, and concerns will be presented as installation art. These expressions may take on the forms of altars, shrines, displays, mixed media, multimedia environments intended to offer concepts, beliefs, opinions, and thoughts in alternative aesthetic formats. Now we switch to the Visiting Artist Series. Since 1982 is when it started, and you've heard, the list of artists that have shown, and here is the full list from 83 to 1990 of what Mars did, not only with visiting artists, a lot of visiting artists, but we also threw in our 3 symposia. Let's see. Mars had a performance art series. Now that was coordinated by Mars artist Jeff Falk and Jack. There he is. He did a great job for years. I honor his work, and he was wonderful. He and Jack Evans presented innovative, thought-provoking, sometimes challenging, and always entertaining performances. Humor played a big part at Mars, and it was often found in the performances. One fine point of the Mars Performance Art Series is that it provided Guillermo Gomez Peña with his first paying gig. Yeah. And I forgot to mention, but it was always said, Amalia with her first solo exhibit in Arizona. So we were there. Where was I? Oh, here we are. One of my favorite performances at the Performing Arts Series was titled The Battle of the Xmas Icons. It was performed at Mars and on the rooftop of a Mars artist named Janet DeBurge Lang. It was on her rooftop of the studio. In it, Santa, played by Jeff Falk, and Jesus, played by Ralph Cordova, engaged in a boxing match while Annie Lopez, dressed as Mary, holding a lighted plastic baby Jesus from an outdoor nativity scene, paced nervously around the boxing ring as the fight ensued. This performance turned into the Bad Xmas pageant, and it ran at various locations for 23 years. Way to go. We also had what we called Mars Divergent Arts Poetry Series. That was coordinated by Ray Chavez in the early years and later on by Jack Evans with the Arizona Poetry Society. The Divergent Art Poetry Series presented statewide poets at Mars Gallery and other locations, free and open to the public, except for special events where you might be charged $2 or, something like that. At that time, that's what you could charge. 6/12/88 at Mars Art Space. Oh, here was another sample of something that was from the poetry series. On June 12th, 88 at Mars Art Space, guest poets feature Meg Davis, visual artist and 1986 coordinator of the Poets Chair contest, and Laura Wasser Carpenter, editor of the quarterly ASPS publication, The Sandcutters. Now I'll move on to symposia. Dealing with the formalizing the academics and really talking about what we were doing was very important. And so we produced significant symposia dealing with cultural and aesthetic concepts relative to the Mexican-American experience. The first one was Rascuachismo, Chicano Aesthetics. And you heard about that, but I'm going to tell you more, or maybe the same thing. It was a groundbreaking exhibition and symposium that focused on the style and meaning of Chicano art. It presented Southwest Chicanoa artists and the distinguished Chicano scholar Tomás Ibarra Frausto and his definition of Rascuachismo Chicano aesthetics. In Spanish, rascuache means leftover or of no value. The Rascuache philosophy makes the most of what's available, inventing new uses for conventional objects, which may mean taking something that would be considered broken or otherwise useless and transforming it into something new. Some classic expressions of Rasquachismo are bathtub altars and inverted painted tire planters. Chicano artists and Chicana artists also have done lots of Rasquache artwork. Rasquache, I think, is part of the culture, actually. In 1980, here's the next symposium, Mars presented Post-Chicano Generation in Art Breaking Boundaries. And that was a little controversial, actually. A symposium presenting a concept proposed by co-curator Max Benavides, describing visual artists who are or identify with Latinos and have been influenced by the Chicano movement. However, these artists see their work as having moved beyond the Chicano paradigm, where Chicano art is primarily about identity as a concept. Post-Chicano art prefers to make statements that resonate for culturally diverse audiences over messages and symbols that speak primarily to one group. I was the co-curator, so I wrote, post-Chicano generation art has yet to be completely defined. The concept may reflect an incipient movement which may have many permutations. It is not signaling the end of the Chicano art movement. It may be an offshoot that reflects change. Chicano and post-Chicano may be described as symbiotic. The exhibition presented Chicano artists, Chicanoa artists from Arizona, Texas, New Mexico, and California who built a bridge between regionalism and globalism at Mars. Well, here we go. There's the countercolonialismo invitation. There it is on the front. Oh, I went too far. Through its national artistic alliances, like NAO, the National Association of Artists Organizations, and upon hearing from Native American voices, Mars became aware of artists nationally addressing the upcoming 500th anniversary of the Spanish conquest of the Americas. Spain was calling it a quincentennial celebration. Culturally diverse American artists referred to it as a quincentennial, marking and describing, but not celebrating the event. Counter Colón y Alismo was an exhibition that presented their art with a catalog and symposium. The exhibition toured 7 locations: Centro Cultural de la Raza in San Diego, Dinnerware Artists Cooperative, Pima Community College, Diverse Works, they were in Tucson, Diverse Works, Houston, Texas, Mexicarte Museum, Austin, Texas, Galeria Posada and Center for Contemporary Art, Sacramento, Mars and the Heard Museum, and Centro Cultural Tijuana, Baja California. So we got around with that one. Mars often collaborated in order to reach its creative and programming goals. Sometimes the collaborations involved producing various Mars artistic series and events. Sometimes Mars promoted other organizations' events and other community news. Some collaborations among many included those with Arislan, Chicanindio, City of Phoenix, Maricopa Tech, South Mountain Village Fair, Scottsdale Center for the Arts, Tempe Arts Center, the Heard Museum, Crash, 11 East Ashland, Shemer Arts Center, many public schools and other organizations. And just the photo, I guess on your right, we also supported just community people. One day, some guy walks in and he's got a bunch of flyers, and this is his business, leather and wood burning and window etching, and we handed them out for him. We gave him a place to show his work. Let me see, newsletter. Let's see, do I have newsletter here? Well, here's one thing. Mars produced a bi-monthly newsletter that promoted its exhibitions, satellite galleries, and events. Divergent poetry series events, artist news, and announcements. And just for interest, here are a few news and the diversity of the news announcements. One of them, congratulations to Martin Moreno, who has been awarded a $10,000 grant to produce a mural on 4th Avenue for the city of Tucson. Another one, congratulations to Joe and Chris Ray, who are the proud parents of a new baby boy, Max Antonio Team Ray, born November 4th, 1990. Here's something different, artists and tax capitalization. Are you aware of the effect of Section 263A of the 1986 Tax Reform Act? For more information, call Rudy Guglielmo, NAO, Regional Representative at Mars Art Space. And another one, Larry Yanez has just released a new cassette tape, Sueños, through Canyon Records. The music from Sueños will be featured in the gallery as one of the pieces in Mars Post-Chicano Generation in Art, Breaking Boundaries exhibition. Sueños is available now at Mars for $10. We helped sell, we wanted, let me see. Oh, and what I put up is the back page of a newsletter where I'm the director, but I talk about the Cara Show, Chicano Art Resistance and Affirmation, which was really a major, they called it a comprehensive art show that was done through UCLA and the White Art Gallery. And 3 Mars artists were in that show, Rob, Larry Yanez, and humbly myself. So that's just saying Mars made it to the big show. Here are some examples of our newsletters, just so you can see it. The last thing I want to end with, I can't really read those, so I can't help, Mars' greatest accomplishments, in my humble opinion. We accomplished our goal of creating a space for Chicanoa Mexican-American artists' work. Mars was the seed planted by artists that opened up some institutions. We pulled together and organized artists of the Valley of the Sun to work together. And as Rob mentioned, that's no easy task. We worked with other centros in the Southwest and California to share information, develop programs, and tour artists and exhibitions. And we influenced the development of the downtown Phoenix arts community because we were such a hot place and everybody came there and they realized downtown was okay and they started, it started building. And so that's what I think we may have done. Thank you.
So similar as before, we're going to skip Q&A, but hang out for the 5 p.m. happy hour time so then you can actually just chat with everybody in person. We're going to do a quick 5-minute break before our final panel, which is the legacy of Mars, which will be these people. So go do your thing, come back in 5.